You're listening to the Law of Attraction Radio Network.
The secret to well-being is discovering the power that is your birthright, the power to create a happier, healthier life, drawn from our own vast internal resources. Join Jules and her guests as they gently guide you to shift your perspective from the familiar negative to the divinely connected, a place that will not only positively impact your world, but possibly shift the planet. It's all right here on Law of Attraction Talk Radio.
Well, welcome to Law of Attraction Talk Radio. I'm Jules from beautiful Southern California, and I'm so glad you could be with me. You know, tonight is a great show because I know I have many, many listeners out there and watchers of the YouTube channel who have often wondered, can they write a book? And I know they have got all this material in here, but the one thing stopping them is how do they put it together? How do they get through the blocks? How do they get through the toughness of writing their own book? Well, that's really important, and that's why I invited Diane Samuels onto the show today. She is going to be talking about all the difficulties and all the ease in which you can finally write your book. I know you have a story to tell. We all do. But how do you make it a bestseller? So you're going to really enjoy tonight's show. But it's not just about a book. You can apply all the information she has to start your own magazine. To do everything and anything you want to do, Diane can help you with. She is a creativity coach. So I know you're going to love the show tonight. But before we bring Diane out, I do want to mention that Law of Attraction Radio Network is having their 11th cruise. Yes, and it is going to be fantastic. We have 9 speakers, and they are coming from all over the parts of the U.S. and even Japan. You know, there is a reason why we have these, because people can really saturate their minds using the principles of the law of attraction. But unless you can totally take 3, 4, 5 days to saturate your mind with it, to eat dinner, to be with like-minded people, well, it really won't sink in. You'll forget it. And that's why I always do a hypnosis session at the beginning, so that you can retain the information. And by golly, this cruise has so much information. It's truly a lifesaver. You're going to love it. Besides, we're going to Cozumel and a city in Yucatan called Progreso, which I've never been to, so I'm so looking forward to it. It's April 8th through the 13th, and I got to tell you, this is one cruise you don't want to miss. We're going to have the time of our lives, and we're going to just be loving every second of it. If you really have a strong desire to come, but you're worried about money, well, give me a buzz. I want you to send me an email at staff@loaradionetwork.com and tell me what the situation is. I also want you to go to loaradionetwork.com and look at our cruise page. It says LOA Cruise. So check it out, and you will see that if you bring a friend or you need a roommate, contact us. We can make this really affordable for you if you set your intention. And let this cruise prove to you what a magnificent creator you are. Because I got to tell you, you really are. Let this cruise prove it to you. So get out of the coldness of whatever area you're living in and come and have a warm week with us. You're going to love it. Well, we're going to take a fast commercial break, and then we're going to come back with Diane Samuels. So get your thoughts together and start thinking of the questions that you want to ask, because we're going to let the universe answer those questions for you. Or you're going to be able to contact Diane and have her help you get that book out of your head and onto paper. You're going to love this show, so stay with us. We'll be right back.
It's here, it's hot, and it's a must read. It's the science behind The Law of Attraction magazine. Every issue brings you great articles and in-depth how-tos from all your favorite Law of Attraction experts, authors, scientists, and medical professionals. Go to lawofattractionmagazine.net. That's lawofattractionmagazine.net.
Are you ready for a healthy 2019? Well, if you are, I've got an easy way to heal anything that ails you, and it's all from Mother Nature. If you're suffering from constant stress or issues with menopause, prostrate, respiratory problems, IBS, psoriasis, and eczema, or even sleep issues, then Mother Nature's miracles are waiting for you. I know this works because I have resolved my health issues in 2018 using Dr. Tony Camacho herbal tinctures, and I have never felt better. These herbal products really do work. Instead of using toxic medications, try these organic herbal products and you will experience some amazing outcomes that Mother Nature intended since the beginning of time. Go to drtonycamacho.com to buy pre-made tinctures or to set up a consultation in which she can make a tincture specifically for your ailment. Go back to Mother Nature and Dr. Tony Camacho. Visit drtonycamacho.com. That is drtonycamacho.com. Well, welcome, Diane, to Law of Attraction Talk Radio.
So good to be here, Jules. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming, because I know that I must have an incredible amount of listeners who have always had the thought of whether they could write a book or not. And I don't know what's stopping them. So maybe you can kind of guide us to decide whether we should write a book or not.
Absolutely. I feel like, that saying that we all have a book in us, at least we all have one book in us. And then there was a statistic that came out a few years ago that actually said 88% of us want to write a book. And I was like, 88%? How come they aren't, And what's amazing is now we have Amazon and Kindle, and you can write a book and be, just get it out there and be out there and have people reading your words and being inspired in a matter of no time at all. So, but you know what? We're human. I think self-talk gets in our way. We don't want to put ourselves out there. We think, does anyone want my story? But the amazing thing as you get into law of attraction and the idea of abundance is that it just explodes, right? It all just gets bigger and bigger. And the more we contribute to that, even if it's not 100% perfect in our own eyes, I think it starts to make a huge difference for people. So I hope everyone feels encouraged that their story is important and precious and valuable.
And everyone has a story within them.
Absolutely.
But how do you determine whether you should go forward or not? What's the fear that's blocking the majority of the people? I mean, for me, I would think that it just seems like it would take forever to get it out on paper.
Yeah, it can feel like it takes forever. It can feel like I don't know where to start. I don't even know where to begin. And so if you're not beginning, obviously, you're never concluding. So really, there are some really simple tools that people can start to use. So journaling is huge, right? People will say, oh, well, I haven't really written my book, but I have this journal. And I'm like, well, send me everything you have. And half of the book is there. It's just a matter of piecing it like a puzzle. Another way you can do it is if you talk to someone and record that, or even talk to yourself in the car, you just hit record. You'd be shocked how quickly the words pile up, and before you know it, you have chapters and chapters. That just happened to me at the gas station. I'm sitting there, I was like, oh, I have to get out and pump gas. And all of a sudden this idea, I was like, where's my phone? I just quick plugged in and started talking. And those 2 minutes turned into a chapter. It was like no problem. You can come up with entire chapters, entire stories. So you could also tell it to somebody else. So when I work with people, a lot of the time they go into a storytelling mode. If I can type fast enough and get them in that storytelling mode to just keep going, at the end, you just look back and say, oh, no, I slipped here. I didn't mean the 4th of July. I meant the 16th or whatever. And you realize that wasn't painful. Look at how much I have. So I would never want anyone to think the getting started piece has to be a block. There's tons of prompts. There's tons of ways. So, you talked about, well, how should I know? How would I go forward? My thing was, where do you begin? The other thing is how people stop themselves, right? And that's that residual negative self-talk. Well, I can't. I'm not a writer. Well, there's millions of tools so that you can be a writer, including hiring a coach, including hiring a ghostwriter, which I'm not. Like, I've been a ghostwriter. And let me tell you what. You are sifting through someone else's story. If you can find a good ghostwriter, go pay them $50,000. I'm not joking. It's like that much work. But if you could pull your own story out of yourself, you'll learn a lot about your own self. Your story gets told in a new context. And so you shift and you start to, I believe, grow even more in amazing directions. Then you also claim your own book as, I wrote this. Like, I made this. The little kid who's making something and they come to mommy and they go, I made this, and there's just such pride. I made this. You get that feeling, which I think is always an awesome feeling.
Yeah, to me, it's like therapy.
Therapy, yeah.
It's really therapy. But I love the idea of everybody has a cell phone, and there's an app that comes with the cell phone that you just turn it on and you record yourself. Instead of listening to the radio, just start talking on your way to work, and especially on the way home from work, and get it all out and start talking and creating a different scenario. I think this is fascinating. And it's really interesting because in the same magazine that you're in, by the way, you wrote a terrific article, but there's a therapist in there that was talking about rewriting your story to have a different outcome, and it changes the way that you then think about it. So it is really therapy, huh?
Yeah. Can I tell you about my book?
Yeah.
The book I'm writing right now is called Bleep: How a 4-Letter Word Can Change Your Life Story. And it's about rooting out the habitual words that we use. And they might be swear words, or they might just be words like fear, or words like fair. Oh, it wasn't fair, and we tell ourselves these stories and we think they're true. And in reality, they're habit stories, or they're kind of going along with what society is saying and, what the TV is doing. And instead of empowering us, they're disempowering us. They're draining us. If we start telling ourselves those, just turn in the direction of the positive. Turn in the direction of what inspires you instead of what is habitual. You can really change your experience of life. And that's what my book is about. And, everybody, I do this coaching, I do this writing. And one of my stories is about sitting on the middle of the night, first night of the new year, right? New Year's Eve, just turned over. And I'm looking and feeling so down, oh, last year this. And I was like, what am I doing? When you start to hear yourself, that's your opportunity. That's when someone puts that step ladder in front of you and you start climbing out. So I totally agree. It's how we tell our story, the words we use, and then do we believe them? We question ourselves. Should I believe this about myself now, or am I new? Have the miracles changed me enough that my story can change and inspire somebody else?
Wow. Yeah, that's great. That's great. So people could would one of the fears be, I'm getting ahead of myself here. It's just like I have so many questions, that they don't want people or friends or family to really know their story. Is that why they write a novel, so that it kind of disguises their own story?
That totally happens. So I just had one author say to me, I want to pull back because I don't want all the feedback I know I'm going to get if I tell the truth of my story. And that's something to work through, totally. I personally have had people use pen names, so they get the 100% truth of themselves out, but they can decide how much they want to reveal of, is this really them? A really famous author did that recently. She went off and wrote this book about magic and was afraid people would judge her for writing about magic as being too woo-woo. Well, she put it out there and then revealed it was her. Nobody criticized. People celebrated it. People got so much out of it. I think our fears, lay those aside, and disbelieve your fear. Fear is one of my 4-letter words in my book. Disbelieve your fear. False evidence appearing real, right? And it's not. So yes, people get nervous. I had a friend who was using a different book coach, and she said, I've got to write the romance chapter now of my memoir. And, now I've got to get into the relationship parts. And oh my gosh, my aunt is going to read it, and my sister. But you know what? She worked through it, and it's beautiful, poetic love stories. It's lovely.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. So to start a book, I heard a long time ago that you have to do an outline.
Ugh.
Is that true, or
I don't have any rules there? I don't have any rules about how somebody's going to write. A person is going to show me how their brain works. A person is going to show me how they want it to go. Some people, I have one guy, my gosh, he wants a system for everything. He wants to outline. He wants a to-do list. He wants accountability. Oh my goodness. And I have another woman who would just talk. She would just talk. And then we would unpack, well, how do you like this? And what if we put it like that? Everybody's different. And I'm really open to whatever works best with an individual. So outlines are great. Tables of contents. Sometimes you say, what do you want to say? And you lay out a table of contents, and it has to have this, it has to have this, it has to have this. Mind maps. Doing a mind map, you have the circle with your central idea, and then you create spokes that go out from the center circle with more circles. So now you've got this wheel, and in each circle are the chapters. So say mine would be how words shape our experience, and then around the circle would be the word fear, the word fail, the word love, the word hate, etc. And then you go from there. So there's lots of ways, and I'm not bound to any of them.
Especially in this day and age, because if somebody, going back to the cell phone and you're driving, there's places that will automatically transcribe it for you. You don't even have to type it out. Of course, you go back and you can edit it right while you're still in the program. I mean, I use that a lot for the magazine.
Yeah, that's huge.
Huge. It really makes a difference. So it's really not a lot of work, is it?
It doesn't have to be, although you know what? I don't want to minimize that there's a big investment that you make. And I wrote a whole draft and went back and read my book, because you leave it sit for a while. You want to get it out, you want to put it aside, and you want to come back to it with fresh eyes to say, am I saying my real message? Is there something here for others? Is there a benefit here? Is it true? Like true, not in a factual way, but does it still ring true? And I read through and I went, oh my goodness, like my spiritual evolution is ongoing, right? I'm sure everybody's is. And I went and I was like, this is where I was a year ago when I started this. Oh my gosh, I'm somewhere else now. So my poor publisher, I just said to her, this manuscript's going to be a little delayed because you want to come with who you really are. And so it does take time. I'm not trying to minimize, but it can be joyful. Things can take 10 years. And if every moment of that is joyful, and it's deep play and you're really involved in it, just getting all the juice out of it. Does it feel like a grind? No, it feels wonderful. It feels like so much fun. So really, that's my hope, that people will find it so fun. Even if not, the whole thing's simple but not easy. So yeah, we can make it simple, but it's still going to require you to show up with your whole soul. And I love that. That's when it's so exciting. When someone's really in there with me and saying, I'm not sure I have all the answers right now as I begin this book. That's when it's like, great, we are going to get this whole story out and you will find out so much in the process. That's when it's fun.
Wow. Wow. So you don't have to write an outline. You can talk it out. So is there, or should there be, a certain amount of pages? I mean, 50 pages for a book, I don't know, that doesn't seem like it would be, I don't know. What is the average?
Well, the standard for a nonfiction kind of inspirational self-help or inspiration for business or inspiration for personal tends to be now around 25,000 words if you're going to put it on Kindle or Nook or one of those. Although recently I had somebody challenge that and say that, who's to say that there needs to be any kind of word count? He said, go ahead. He read the most meaningful book of the year, and it was 8,000 words. So, as a writer and a writing coach, I was like, that feels thin to me, but I'm not going to rule it out. I'm going to read the book that he's referring to and see if, wow, can you really move somebody in 8,000 words? Ideally, yes. So books that are fictions are longer. Obviously, a fiction can be much, much longer. But in general, the market is calling for shorter and meaningful books. So,
Oh, really?
Even 6 months ago, I was working with a publisher who was shooting for 30,000 words.
And just back up, 30,000 words would be how many pages?
It's hard to tell when you're reading online because it's paginated differently, but roughly, say 140, 150 pages.
Oh, okay.
Kind of
Okay.
a short book. And he even scaled it down and he said, let's shoot for 25,000 instead. And now this guy's talking 8,000. So you know what? I think you write until your story's done. And then if you go back and say, oh, it's a little light, we come up with an example to flesh it out. We come up with a story within the story. We come up with an example from someone somewhere else. So, yeah, I think the book is done when it feels done.
Can you put graphics in the book or what?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely, because you're going to need to have a formatter, somebody who knows how to make all of those images and all the graphics fit properly. And so when you open your book, nothing's lost in the binding or anything like that. So absolutely anything is possible. And people do want to use illustration, graphics, graphs, charts, all number of things.
Right. Interesting. So you help people get that story within a story. You help bring out something else that may not have been in their brain to begin with.
Absolutely. And what happens sometimes, recently, this happened twice, a gentleman set out to write his book. And after about 2 months, he said, can we lay this aside and you act not as book coach, but as creativity coach, because I want to do a concert. He's a musician. And so he went off, and his concert's next week. So what we worked on was how to pull together all the pieces to express what he wants to teach in his book and show it. So he's going to do narration. He's going to do some teaching. He's going to play some music. He has Tibetan singing bowls. And so that's kind of where the direction he went in. Another woman said, I'm going to create, instead of a book, I'm going to take everything we wrote together and create a website out of it. And so it'll be blog posts and it will be the format of my website, all the information. So sometimes a book, it's about getting out the message, right? So whatever the message needs to come and express as is what we're open to seeing happen. So this guy went, he's doing a concert. It's like sold out. It's next weekend. How great is that? This other woman is really clear. It's not a book, not right now. Maybe down the line it will be. Excellent. So let's help you do what it is you want to do, which is share your brilliant words, right?
Yeah, interesting. That is really fascinating. So we can really, truly, there's nothing stopping us but us. The
Right.
fear of it.
And you have mentioned to me that so many people want to write a book, and I would be curious just to talk to them about, well, what has stopped you up until now? And you can look back. I had somebody who looked at a journal from 5 years ago, and they're like, if I had written that, it would be out there for all this time. And what took me so long? And I think a lot of us ask that of ourselves, right? Well, what took us so long? We get in our own way. But I'd be curious to know if anybody wants to have that conversation. What's held me back? Let's break through that and do what you're here to do.
Exactly. Wow. That would be fascinating. Matter of fact, that could be a book by itself.
Could. Absolutely could.
Things that stop you, because I keep on thinking it's not just about a book that's within. It could be the stopping point for anything going forward. You could apply the same things that you're writing or stopping you from writing can actually stop you from living that dream that you really want to live.
Can I let me just wonder out loud. I wonder if we're playing with the law of attraction, right?
Yeah.
But not really living into it. If we're just dabbling, if it's not yes always, and law of attraction only applies sometimes and maybe to certain people or certain events, isn't that holding us back? Isn't that stopping us right there? If you were truly believing in what you need to have show up shows up when you need it, then all the strength and the ideas and everything you need to write your book would show up too, right? So I have my law of attraction quote right here on my old-fashioned typewriter. It says, "It's not your work to make anything happen. It's your work to dream it and let it happen." Now, if we lived into that feeling, the dream is our job, not the manifesting. The dream is our job. And when we stay really clear on that dream, the right help shows up, the ideas show up, the insights show up, the people that you need to make all the linkages, they show up. That's been my experience.
For me, I've had to do it myself. I intend it, but then I go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm not saying it's work. As I said earlier, it is work. There are things you're going to have to do. But the belief that, to keep clear on the belief, to not let go, and to only apply law of attraction principles in certain aspects of your life, why wouldn't it apply to your book, your website, your business, your creativity, whatever it is that's inside that you want to bring out? Why not? I mean, great experiment.
Exactly. And the fact that you're on the video and radio show right now, you are actually something that somebody out there has been waiting for.
Absolutely. Before this, I was affirming that just the right people will be listening. Just the right people will be sparked. We'll have that moment of, I think this might be the one. This is the way to go. This is the insight. This is the person. And even if it isn't me, this is the now. Like, I was just intending that the people who need this particular interview hear it, get it, and act on it. Whether they hire me or not, you know what I mean? Do whatever is necessary to take the next most obvious step. Like, I really believe in dropping into not your brain awareness, but your heart and soul awareness, and asking, what's the next most obvious thing I can do right now to make my dream a reality? And I am, with every ounce of my intention, believe that people right now are hearing that and asking themselves that question. And that's my goal. If that could be happening for people, that's fantastic.
Well, what is that thing that other readers are looking for? What excites readers?
Just dying for inspiration, right? They're dying for that encouragement of, oh, I would love to believe this, but I don't know. And then you show up with those, like, think about Jack Canfield's Chicken Soup for the Soul, right? And is it Marcy? I can't remember her name, but the women's chicken.
Marcy Shimoff.
Exactly. These are so popular because people are just looking for inspiration. They're the kind of resource you can pick up and just go, read this one. Oh yeah, and now I'm back on course. And I think we are here to help each other, give each other a hand up, and that's what I think a reader is looking for. Some people go and surf the Kindle site and see, oh, here's a novel. there's a group of us, and more and more and more and more of us, looking for more than just placid entertainment. We're looking to be inspired. We're looking to help heal the world. We're looking to help heal ourselves. And that's the kind of thing that I have a feeling somebody listening right now is thinking my book could do that for somebody.
Something really positive, because once people react to your story, where you think, oh, I'm such a terrible person for doing all this, but you know what? Then people start coming and saying, wow, I can identify. Thank you so much. It really made a difference. So that, just as you said, can help turn around somebody else. So you become the inspiration for them.
Absolutely. And those kinds of, I don't want to say rags to riches, but those kinds of stories where people have transcended, where people have gotten past whatever mistakes they made, whatever difficulty they came through, and now they're standing in this new place, that is absolutely the inspiration I think this world needs. And as bad as it is, people will forgive you. As bad as it is, people can identify. People, you're not the only one. And I always say, nothing's going to surprise me. If you coach with me, nothing you say will surprise me, shame me. I will not judge it. I won't even blink, because believe me, I've heard it all. And we're all the same. It might be just a different thing, but the shame is the same. The regret is the same. The Thanksgiving, the joy, it's all the same. So let's move everybody toward joy. And let's acknowledge we're all human, we make mistakes, and we can get up and out. And that's what people are looking to read, So I hope my authors would be brave, be who they really are, and share their story, right? And I hope others who read it will be like, okay, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one. Wow, this person did it. I can do it too.
So do you recommend having a common subject matter and having friends put their own stories in there? I think that's kind of what Jack Canfield did, didn't he?
Yeah, I'm thinking about an anthology now. I'm putting together an anthology because a lot of people don't have a full book. Like they'll call me up and they'll have a chapter, a great idea, one story. I had one guy who was trying to turn it into a book, and it just wasn't a book. It was moving and meaningful and beautiful, but it was about 10 pages. So I thought, what if we were to compile all of these stories into a single book? So it would be a whole list of authors with their inspiration. Similar to Chicken Soup, although I think it would be more focused on the law of attraction kind of principle, or the idea of it's not all up here. A lot of this stuff is happening at the soul and heart and gut level. So what has been someone's understanding of that as it shows up, as it transforms? So if people were interested in that, definitely a possibility.
And then you are looking for stories that might work in it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd love that.
How do we contact you for that?
Well, you can check out my website, which is coachingyourdream.com, and I'm at coachthedream@gmail if you want to email me, but definitely check out the website. And you can also get there by yourrightwords.net. So absolutely.
Your right words, RIGHT?
WRITE.
Thank
You're
you.
right. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, let's get that one right. Oh, this is neat. I remember the story of the author of Harry Potter.
Oh, J.K.
What was her name?
J.K. Rowling.
Oh, yeah. And she just one day started writing. And
Right.
she came up with this incredible tale.
But Jules, we have to be really clear with people who are listening. If we think for 1 minute that remember there's one story, she's writing it on napkins in the cafe.
Right.
Okay. Guess what? There's no way it went from napkin in the cafe to Harry Potter on the big screen.
Okay, yeah.
There were editors, there were writers, there were people who went in and helped her, there were agents, there were people who helped shape that story. She probably herself went back in and did rewrites that went on for hours and days and weeks, right? I don't want anyone to feel like, well, I'm not J.K. Rowling. I'm sure not having these enormous stories being spewed out of me. My partner always just marvels. He's like, this woman out of her imagination created worlds. And you know what? Ours might not be multiple worlds like the 9 movies or whatever it is for Harry Potter, but that doesn't mean we don't have something to say. And just like her, we will need editors. We will need people to read it and give us feedback. We will need to edit it ourselves and be like, oh, I didn't quite get it right, but let me try one more time. Oh, now I got it right. So we don't have to be that person with the napkin. We could be the person in the phone, recording on the phone, transcribing it, sending it to an editor, giving it to a friend to read, rereading it ourselves in 2 months, saying, what would be better, even better if I did this. So we always think about, Stephen King was rejected, 1,000 times. I don't know, that's not inspiring to me. I don't want to be rejected 1,000 times.
Exactly. That's the whole thing that's stopping people. All that work to just be rejected. That's
Right.
where you really need a person like you, because you're going to guide them and keep on telling them, okay, this is something that's going to attract.
Yeah. And the hardest thing, I had a young woman, tell me the truth, should I go forward with this book? Is this good enough to go to a publisher? And my answer to her is like, who knows? There could be a publisher that loves it. There could be a publisher that hates it. But what I do know is that if she and we're going to be working together tomorrow, if we really get in there and work on this story, it will absolutely be a brilliant story. It's not going to be simple, quick, easy, right? It's going to take some editing and some work. And hers is fiction. So it's a little different from a personal story about inspiring from your life. So it is a little bit different. But I believe that J.K. Rowling, no matter how she began, no matter what track she used, no matter what resources, there was a story inside of her that needed to be born, and it was. And every single person we're talking to right now will have their own unique process for the story or the creation, whether it's a business, a concert, a book. We have our own unique path for that to come out as well. And sometimes the path looks twisty and windy, and we think, where the heck am I going? I'm never going to get there from here. And you do. If you keep following the breadcrumbs, you come out of the woods. That's the story, that's the fairy tale, and that's the truth.
Yeah, that's it. It does sound easier. I got to be truthful. It does sound not like a very long journey, but the key is having someone, a coach that can guide through the process. Wayne Dyer wrote a lot of books. He would get up at 4:00 in the morning and he'd be writing for hours and then go back and write. So it's like people are thinking, wow, wait a minute. I want to be a Wayne Dyer, but I can't. I have to work.
Right. But the best thing to have is somebody next to you to believe in you and to help you be accountable for those times when you just don't get up at 4, and to keep kind of the vision of, I have this amazing offering, because we forget that. Oh, this is junk, this isn't good. And to have someone in your corner saying, look, I believe in you and I believe in this project. You can do it. You will do it. Let's take the next most obvious step forward and see what comes next.
Okay, so say we write a book.
Okay.
What do we do then? Do we send it to publishers, or do we have to get a literary agent? How difficult? What's the scoop of getting it published?
There's right now such a broadening of how someone can get their book out. It used to be you had to get an agent, you had to go traditional publishing. And then for a while, it was strictly the self-publishing route, and people saw it as less than, it's not as good as. And that's not true anymore. Actually, authors are making more money through the self-publishing route. They have so much more control over their product. You don't realize how much you give away with a traditional publisher, and you think that they're going to do all your marketing for you. And that's not the case anymore. They expect you to show up with a finished manuscript and an author's platform, a Facebook page, a huge email following list that they can send out to. You've got to show up with all that work done, and they'll market you, but you'll be expected to do marketing for yourself as well. So there's also hybrid presses, and what they'll do is do some of the marketing, but you pay them to do that. So they'll put the book, they'll do the edits, they'll do the formatting, they'll put it up, they'll print some some hard copy, and they'll do some of the marketing, but you've paid them up front for that. So it's as wide and varied as the writer. I've found some people get to the end and they say, I'm going to have this bound and give it to my children and grandchildren. They decide it's more of a legacy project. And that's beautiful. There's lots of ways to get that bound and shared. Otherwise, people are going straight to Kindle, Amazon Kindle. It's really relatively inexpensive. I always recommend an edit. You just need to expend that little money and make sure. I had one author who skipped it. He had a friend at church do his edit. And then he put it up on Kindle, right? And he's calling me the next day. There are so many errors, Diane. There are so many errors. You don't want that.
Yeah.
Your friends will notice it. They'll be saying, hey, did you see this? So you want to pay for that edit. You put it up, and that can happen so quickly and so easily. So we talk about that. My goal, however, is get the book out. Get the book out of your being and into a format where then you can decide. Traditional publishing, hybrid publishing, self-publishing, publishing just in a print version, just online. There's so many choices, and they are changing rapidly. So lots of opportunities.
A friend of mine, Dr. David Che, who wrote Total Law of Attraction, it's a bestseller. It's now in China, all over the world. He started with a self-published book.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the sales on Amazon, publishers were starting to take and pay attention.
Yeah.
And so after that, they approached him and said, let's do it. So he's now at Simon & Schuster.
That's awesome.
But once they see that it's blossoming, then they're going to grab on it. So he was not really rejected because there's now a different way that publishers can see it and start doing that. But he also said publishers now will not promote the books. They want the author to promote. They no longer do book signings. So it was up to Dr. Che to go on to the radio shows, to start talking about it, to start speaking on it. And that's how he even drew more. So now even more publishers want him. Yeah. Because, and that's why he's doing internationally now, is because he got out there. He just didn't stop and wait
for someone to pick up his book. Right.
Exactly. So
what I recommend people do, even right now, even before they have a book per se, they need to start, even on a Facebook page that they create, start telling their story and start getting followers, start getting email addresses, begin your platform building now, get on Instagram, get a bunch of followers there, because when your book goes crazy, right, you want to be able to say to all these people, read and review my book. The more reviews you get on Amazon, the more bestseller stars you get, the more you go up the metric, right? And the more likely a publisher is going to see you. And then when they call you up and they say, do you have your own email list? You say, I have 10,000 people on my email list. Now they love you even more. So even if all you're doing is creating a website, start collecting email addresses, start creating a following, share your story, even if it's not a full-on book right now.
And be prepared that you do have to advertise your book, too.
You do have to advertise your book.
You have to get it out there. And the more you advertise, the more people are going to buy. So in the long run, you're going to do very, very well if you stay at it. Now, I know that Dr. Che said one book took so much energy, I don't want to write another book for many years down the road, because he's working on that one to make it such a total success.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I could see that. I could see that happening. But if there's another book that starts to bloom inside, take that opportunity. I feel like that's a wasted opportunity. Maybe he just doesn't have one, but I think there are plenty of people who have. I have one person whose book came out last summer. She's already on the next book.
Wow.
It's just the book was there and she had to write it. It couldn't be ignored. So,
yeah. So in any case, with any book, you're just not going to birth the baby and walk away. You're still going to be involved in it.
Right.
Be it 2 books previously written or the next couple ones. So it's a labor of love, I would have to say, because you have to put that love in there if you're going to attract those people who are going to love the book. Now,
Absolutely.
that's the law of attraction.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. You have to stay with the book and not lose track. You have to promote and talk about it and represent it to the world. The world will forget. You know how fast the world forgets. Things rise up, things go down. If you believe in your story, if you believe in your mission, though, it becomes easy to keep talking about it, to keep coming back around to it, having access to it. So yeah, and that, if you can find a way to make that fun, it's almost like when you're in sales, the people who are the most successful in sales think it's great. They love getting conversation. If you
Right.
can feel that about marketing, I'm going to write a post, I'm going to refer everybody back to my book, and they're excited about it, it can work. So, but I don't want people to think they put it out and now they just sit back and wait for their passive income to roll in. It doesn't work that way.
No,
Wouldn't
no,
that be
no.
nice?
Wouldn't it be nice? But that's not. I know Michael Loge wrote 3 Law of Attraction books, and the first one landed him self-published. All 3 self-published. First one landed him on Oprah's.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and he sold millions of books. And he was first in the industry really to get it going. It was like the same time as The Secret. So, in other words, you don't have to have just one subject matter either. You can expand it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think then you have to think about, here's the thing, like everyone talks about branding, right? So if
Right.
somebody starts identifying with you in a particular genre, how do you then tell them you also wrote a book about wrenches? I'm writing the law of attraction, but I happen to be an expert in wrenches. They're my passion. I love wrenches. I like to tighten stuff with them, right? You have to be able to somehow tell people it's still me. So I think that can become a challenge. And I think we have to be really clear, get your audience set for your favorite book, and then decide, how do you bring in this other book? Do you create a whole new platform? And that depends on your amount of energy. At some point, I think the goal, hire a virtual assistant and run as many of these parallel lines as you want, because it's all possible.
They used to do parties 5-10 years ago about come as you are in 5 years.
Oh, that's so cool.
So it's like, you could write your own law of attraction story right now and how you want it to be.
That's a beautiful idea. I've never been to one of those parties, but boy, that would be really fun.
Wouldn't it? Because if you want to be an author, then they would have photographers there taking pictures and everything. So you're actually feeling that vibration of success.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, I think that's probably a great law of attraction. Write the book that you want to become.
That's beautiful.
And what can go wrong? Well, you're only putting it down. You're setting your attention. So it's like, okay, this could work. So it's a fiction right now, but it could turn out to be the real thing.
Absolutely. Follow
Wow.
the dream. Believe the dream.
Wow, that is so fun. I love it. I love it. This is great. Anything else that you could share with us, that's something we haven't touched on?
Well, I really love talking to you. I think this is such a great venue and so exciting. I really hope that people not only go into it with all of those ideas about financial success and abundance, but also just that offering that it is, and that deep exploration of who are you really meant to be here on this planet. How does the story, just your book, create just one brick in that beautiful story? Because it's not, you're not going to write your book and then be done. Your law of attraction journey goes on and on, gets richer and bigger, broader than you even imagine. And the book could just be one small step. You could be next putting on a concert or creating this amazing performance or creating a huge business. You just don't know. And I think it's just taking those steps that are so fun. So it's the dream behind it. My whole coaching practice is about coaching your dream. So that's coachingyourdream.com. And it's whatever dream you have. I really believe those are divinely put in us. And our job here back on earth is to figure out, remember what was that dream that was put in me before I even came into this form? What is it? And let it be bloomed out into the world. Let me share what that is in this world. I think that's our job. That's the creative job that we have. Live our dream. So that's what I want people to do.
Live your dream. It's also you're leaving a legacy for your children,
which is so popular to think about
and
now.
Grandchildren, and oh my goodness. Oh, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Thank you so much. This was such a delight. I want to remind everybody to get this issue and read it online, because we've already printed it, and so you're going to have to read it online, but you need to go and see Diane write that book, and this is just such a pretty.
Thank
there
you.
She is. There she is.
Absolutely.
So that's the best in the world. Here we are. We have starting 2019, and we're going to write the book.
Let's do.
All right.
Thanks, Jules.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next week with another great show from Law of Attraction Talk Radio. If you'd like to comment on tonight's show, send an email to jules@loaradionetwork.com, and have a great week.